Tuesday's bombshell testimony from former Mark Meadows aide Cassidy Hutchinson is apparently being questioned. This is according to a reporter citing sources close to the Secret Service. So this is mainstream media that's reporting this. Now, before we get into that, I'm going to give you the context here and remind you what Hutchinson testified about. This was a conversation that she had, allegedly, with Trump Deputy Chief of Staff Tony Ornato and Robert Engel, who ran Trump's Secret Service detail. So again, the point in question here is a story where about the limo driver and how Trump had attempted to take the wheel. It was a take the wheel Jesus moment. Let me go to her to explain.
When I returned to the White House, I walked upstairs towards the Chief of Staff's office, and I noticed Mr. Ornato lingering outside of the office. Once we had made eye contact, he quickly waved me to go into his office, which was just across the hall from mine. When I went in, he shut the door, and I noticed Bobby Engel, who is the head of Mr. Trump's security detail, sitting in a chair, just looking somewhat discombobulated and a little lost. I looked at Tony, and he had said, "Did you effing hear what happened in the Beast?" Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, "We're not, you don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing," the president had a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel, and when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
All right, so now, look, that testimony sounds incredibly damning towards the former president, because it does show how, if it's true, how furious he was to not be going to the Capitol to join the rioters that he knew, according to her testimony, wanted to bring weapons and were going to threaten his vice president. Again, he's not happy. He was not happy with his vice president at the time for not trying to steal the election for him. And secondly, of course, that it would show that he would be unhinged enough to put his hands on a Secret Service agent as a result of anger. That said, is it true? Let's get into it. So ABC and NBC are now reporting that while the Secret Service has not openly responded to it, that the two people in question, Engel and Ornato, might do so. A source at the Secret Service tells me that both Bobby Engel and the lead agent, the presidential limousine SUV driver, are prepared to testify under oath that neither man was assaulted and that Mr. Trump never lunged for the steering wheel. This is according to NBC News chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander. Okay. Now, what's interesting about that, though, is that they already testified to the committee. So the committee already has their testimony, apparently. And so if they already had the testimony that ran counter to her, why would they put her up as a witness? I'm already seeing some holes here, some cracks in this. Okay, some cracks in the narrative that the Secret Service is putting out. But let's go further here. Okay, this is according to ABC News chief justice correspondent Pierre Thomas. Source close to the Secret Service, again, an unnamed source, tells ABC to expect the Secret Service to push back against any allegation of an assault against an agent or President Trump reaching for the steering wheel. This is John Santucci of ABC News reporting that. So now look, if they have a different account than what they had previously testified, then they should testify that publicly and openly in front of the committee. I mean, that's what they should do. Let's get this all out in the open then. Okay? If you're going to go on the record against what she is saying, well then okay. Let's see it. Let's see it. Understand the whole point of these hearings is to get to the truth, right? To get to the truth of the matter and to lay out if there is a case for the Justice Department to pursue anyone involved with January 6th, the violence, the coup attempt, and if the president's involved, to prove that he is culpable. And so, that said, look, what it looks like so far is that, yes, Trump definitely seems to be involved. To have known all about this stuff. Now, here's the thing, though. So let's go back to the witnesses, right? So now you have Ornato and Engel, who are very, very pro-Trump people, who have been described as Trump yes men, right? That are now saying, "Oh no, we don't agree with Hutchinson. That's not what happened, and we're gonna testify under oath." Okay, again, you've already testified, so you're gonna testify again and likely change your story, and that seems a little suspicious. That said, Hutchinson is not a left-winger. Hutchinson is very right-wing. She's somebody who interned for Steve Scalise and Ted Cruz. This isn't a lefty. She was MAGA, and she so impressed Mark Meadows that he had elevated her to his go-to person. If you were in the White House and you wanted to get a message to Trump or Mark Meadows, you would have to go through her. Very, very likely. So, yeah, so much for, of course, Trump coming out and saying, "Oh, coffee girl, barely knew her, didn't know it at all. She's lying, very, very bad at her job. She wanted to come with us, and we wouldn't allow her to come with us." She was on Air Force One. She was literally in her circle. And again, that's why she was a perfect witness. That's why her testimony was important enough to the committee for them to come back from their recess for Independence Day. And look, we all know how much Congress loves their recesses, how much they love to take vacation. If this was important enough to interrupt their vacation, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. So she's a perfect witness. Therefore, since she comes out, MAGA world is furious. Furious. She's lying, she's a grifter, she's a coffee girl, that Donald Trump barely knew her. And they'll point to this and say, "Oh, look, the Secret Service. They're going to push back. See, she lied. But did she? No. Again, if you listen to her testimony, she didn't say, "I saw this happen, I was in the car." She never claimed that. She never claimed to have seen it happen. She just said that she learned about the incident from Ornato and Engel. They allegedly told her about this, that this happened. And so she's like, "Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I can't believe this is what happened. I can't believe this happened." So now, again, the person that Trump lunched at did not dispute that account so far. But we have to find out in public under oath. Let's see the other side. Let's see what they're talking about. Let's see if they're being honest. Because who knows? They could have lied to her about it, or they could have lied to the committee about it. And so we have to see what the truth is. And again, people are saying now that Engel and the driver are going to dispute that Trump had lunch for the wheel. And again, so she didn't see it firsthand. All she has is Ornato's recounting of the situation. And again, Ornato, he could come out publicly and deny it, but so far hasn't. Now, if he does, and contradicts his previous testimony to the committee, that actually makes the case worse for them, doesn't it? And it kind of shows that he's a liar, and that it actually bolsters her story. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's why Ornato is likely not going to actually testify, and I'll be very, very shocked, very surprised if he actually does, because the committee is going to have other questions. For instance, Hutchinson testified that Ornato was the person who informed Meadows that Trump supporters were attempting to enter the rally armed, and that Trump didn't care. Ornato also told Meadows that he informed Trump of this, per Hutchinson. She went on to recount that Trump had angrily demanded that armed supporters be let in, after which he directed the mob to the Capitol to intimidate the vice president into completing his coup attempt, which he did not. Ornato, as well as Engel, could also testify about whether Trump actually did want to go to the Capitol or not, and what happened then, what happened afterwards. The committee would have lots of good questions for them if they were to appear under oath, which is very likely why they're not going to appear under oath. While they will sit there from the sidelines and say, that's not what happened, not true, she's telling lies. Okay, well, come testify under oath and tell us what you think is the truth. Bring it on. Let's get to the bottom of all of this. Because right now, without their testimony under oath in public, Hutchinson is far more believable because of how close she was to the inner circle. That she had worked for Mark Meadows directly, and that she did testify under oath publicly. And so, look, my thinking is that what they're doing right now, Ornato and Engel, saying, oh yeah, we'll testify, definitely. I think it's a distraction by them. If they're saying that, yeah, of course we'd like to testify to rebut Hutchinson, but then they decide not to, for whatever reason, and they can make up a million reasons, right? Partisan witch hunt. It makes us look bad. It makes Donald Trump look bad. Well, what does that do? Well, again, it makes people who are paying attention, who are watching, think, well, these guys are not credible at all, and actually strengthens Hutchinson's case. But that's not the audience that we're trying to reach here. And unfortunately, the audience that we're trying to reach isn't all interested in hearing the facts. There's an article that I was going to talk about earlier today, where you had Fox News, Fox viewers clicking away from any mention of these January 6 hearings. If Fox News tries to air them, they get punished in viewership massively. They lose half their audience. It's gone. It's like, if I decide to play a video game in the middle of my show, half of you are going to duck out. We're not interested. Sorry. That's what's happening on Fox News. They just click away. They're not interested in hearing any of it. And so now, when these guys come out and they say, oh, we'll testify, but they never do, what does that do? That muddies the water. It allows right-wing pundits to come out and say, oh, so you debunked. The Secret Service says they don't agree. Are they going to watch to follow it up? Are going to sit there and pay attention to the hearings and be like, oh, hey, it looks like they didn't testify. Gee, I guess they look kind of bad. No. It's muddying the water because these people don't care about facts. They already have, in their mind, this idea that this is a partisan witch hunt only to come out and take down Donald Trump. Not to actually get to the truth. Not to actually see who's responsible. Because again, they don't care. I mean, ask any of the right-wingers who troll this show I mean, you don't even have to ask them. They'll tell you right out in the open. Nobody cares about January 6th. No, we don't care. We don't care at all. Nobody cares about this. Actually, the majority of the country does care. According to recent polling, I think it was 3/4 of the country or 2/3. A clear majority said that they want Trump to face consequences for what they've done, for what he did on January 6th, for trying to overturn the election illegally. So, but again, this gives Trump and his allies just another way to discount the hearings. Look, the right wing doesn't need facts. All they need is this narrative. They need to inject this fog of uncertainty, and they need to play to their own biases instead of playing to the truth, because they don't care about the truth. And if it comes out to be that Hutchinson is lying, which is a possibility, certainly, wouldn't that be far more damaging to herself than the committee, whom she would be ultimately shown to have lied to? And look, this committee has been running a very tight hearing. They've had plenty of evidence. They've had testimony from conservatives, right-wingers, former members of Trump's administration to back them up. I know who I believe.